So my flowers, I ended up the zinnias. I ended up calling it Oli for the flower season this year for our flower stand because I had some weddings. School had started since I teach, and it was just kind of crazy. And with the little ones, it was just too much to keep up with. But everything is, I still have like quite a bit of blooms out here. Obviously, they're past their prime, as you can see. Like, definitely past their prime. But it's kind of cool to come down here and see everything still. I might harvest some for our table this weekend. But we are going to go through and decide what we want to plant for next year. So I focus on summer annuals. So I will be planting, of course, zinnias again. And this over here is Snow Mountain that is no longer like being able to use it's past its prime too. You can see it's seeding out, but it's a really great one. I will be planting Queen Annie's lace again. I love Queen Annie's lace.
I don't think we're gonna do a milk one next year because it's kind of messy.
It is kind of messy, but mommy likes it as a filler flower. I'll be planting Status again and Cosmos. So let's go through. I like to always plant a white zinnia. It's a really good neutral flower. This year was my first year planting. You can see the insects are finding my flowers. It was my first year planting some different crazy zinnias that I've never planted before. I love how they added texture to my arrangements. And by planting them next to each other, I got some kind of crazy colors because of cross-pollination, which was kind of cool. I planted dill this year, which I probably won't plant again. I liked adding some of the seed heads again, like adding some of the seed heads to my arrangements, but some people didn't like dill.
What's dill?
This one right here. This one had the smell, the dill smell.
Yeah, are you not gonna plant it? Mommy, are you not gonna plant it?
And then I definitely will not be planting my sunflowers in the middle.
Mommy, are you gonna plant dill again?
No, I don't think I'm gonna plant dill again because the smell of it. I love these, like this one was like the cupcake Cosmo.
You're not gonna plant,
Okay.
okay? Everything was had to do, okay?
Okay. We have a friendly little spider right here. I definitely will be planting this peach variety again. I loved that. And then I want to try planting some more Celosia next year, some more Liatris. And then over here, I of course will plant Gomphrena. These ones are still doing awesome. There's a lot more Status over there. And then my dahlias, definitely going to stake them next year. They didn't do great this year, but I have some dahlias still. I'm gonna try to save the tubers and try again. Got a friendly little bee on that one. 2 little bees. And then I don't know how this one is pronounced, but agarium, something like that. I loved adding this one this year. This one was probably my favorite addition. And then we have some beautiful Popostatus. It's a great one. Then we have some sunflowers that are just seeding out. Definitely not, like I said, planting them in the middle again because you just, especially the one-hit wonders, you get one essentially good bloom from them and then they are just done. But The bees loved them. Alright, you guys, so today is going to be a different style of video. We are going to talk about planning for the upcoming season. I usually like to order our flower seeds right after we conclude the current year. So it's actually a little bit later than I typically, well, actually not probably too bad because we ended the flower season a little early this year. So I think it's right about, it seems late, but I think it's right about when I usually purchase them. But I'm going to walk through how I plan to set up the field and like how I know what seeds to order. So I create what's called a site plan, and I have here the rows of seeds, or the rows by the machine shed. So the machine shed's right here, and then I lay out, I have these little cards that I put the names of the seeds on. So let's try to hold this up. So I have like basil, mint, marigolds, zinnias, snapdragons, amaranth, cress, zinnias, and then over here was where the horses were at. So I don't know if I'm trying to play around with the idea of possibly using this space too. So I have sunflowers over here. I've used this in the past. So the horses are my dad's and his fiance's horses, and they ended up, it was her daughter's horses, so they ended up moving them to a different location. So the horses are not on our property anymore, and so we have that space that we could use as well. Another idea is you could map it out like this. So you could create a site map just on paper and then draw out what you want where, especially if you have more like raised beds. Since we have long rows, this works out really good for us of trying to plan out what we're going to plant in what row. Also, what I love to do this time of year is create a vision plan for what I hope. This is a really good idea to do it in the new year, but I also love to do this when I'm planning the next season. Are you joining me? This is also what I love to do this time of year when I plan out the season. It's figuring out, you can't have that, that's coffee. It's figuring out what I want the year to look like. So I have on here pictures of cows, flowers, healthy meals, family time, the route to her roots, just like thinking back to like my roots and where I came from, getting back to the basics and like slowing down a little bit is kind of what my vision is. Okay, you guys, can you guys go find Dad? Mom's gonna finish this up and then I will come play with you. Okay, looking at this site map a little bit more, we have cut and come agains, one-hit wonders, and medium producers. So the netting is going to go on the rows, and then we're going to corral these rows, so like our dahlias and cress and marigolds, but we're going to do it a little bit more technical. Instead of just using the twine like last year or this previous year, I'm going to stake it more. And this is just like these we can move. This is just kind of an idea. I might play with it a little bit. Eucalyptus. We don't have, this map is one that I move things around and try to change from year to year. And eucalyptus was one I tried previously in the past, and obviously it's one that grows better in warmer climates, and we just don't have a high tunnel or greenhouse or anything like that to keep it. Bells of Ireland I found that need a little bit drier land and not too wet of a surface, so I'm gonna move those up higher, I think over here. So I think I'm gonna take out 2 tulips and daffodils. I didn't plant those this year either because the amount of money that they cost, and I didn't get much return on them. So I think I'm gonna put my bells of Ireland there. Maybe my basil will go down here, ornamental basil. I have my sunflowers over here instead of in the middle. Take this one out. And then I probably will not plant kale either this year. So I might add a couple like the ones that I planted this year, like agarium and straw flowers and stuff like that. But this kind of gives you an idea of how I go about planting it. Okay, and then this is how I plan out from the website. So we buy from Johnny's Seeds. When I'm picking out what seeds I want to buy, I will write them on here. I will write down days to germination. I have a pretty good idea now at this point which ones need to be directly sowed, which ones need to be planted indoors. But I like to write it down just so I have record. And then if it's a cut and come again, one hit wonder, or a medium producer. So for example, I go to flowers, and if I'm going to click on agarium because that one I definitely want to plant again this year. So if I go down here, I really liked the tall blue planet. It's kind of a pricier seed, so a packet is $6.80 versus the next one up is $12 for 500 seeds. I think I'm going to do a packet this year because I bought some plugs of it last year, and I might buy some plugs again. But growing information, 7 to 10 days to germinate. So I'm going to write agarium, specifically the tall blue. Days to germination is 7 to 10. This one, since I have not started it by seed, it says transplant recommended. So I'm gonna write indoors, and I will usually start that around spring break. And they were a cut and come again. I was super happy with how much blooms we got from it. Okay, so I'm gonna click on one, add it. Okay. Then I just go down the list. Amaranth. This year I am gonna buy, I usually buy Hot Biscuit and Red Spike, and I'm also gonna buy the Coral Fountain this year. I did want to talk about this a little bit. When I'm planning out my flowers for this season, I also think about, don't mind, this is our box of toys that are broken that need fixed. Like on, have you ever seen Halloween Town when there is all of the lost socks and they end up in that one guy's cave, like where all the lost socks go? This is where all the broken toys go. that need to be fixed. Anyways, side note. When you are thinking about your flowers that you're planting, you also want to think about successions. You don't want to plant everything at once because then everything will be blooming at the same time and you don't extend your season as far. So when I'm thinking about that, it's right here. When I'm thinking about my site map, I'm also thinking about which rows I'm planting first. So that's why the one site map, that example that I showed you, had like zinnias in like 3 different rows, is because the goal is that I'm planting the first few rows, and then a week or so goes by and I plant the next 2 rows, and then a week. And this honestly for me has just been by gradual time of when I can get things planted. So like, because of school getting out in May, I try to have things planted like around Mother's Day, but with full-time teaching, sometimes I don't get things planted until school gets out. So I naturally have a succession because I plant a few rows and then I plant the next couple rows as I have time. But if you are trying to full-time farm, or if you're trying to start a flower farm from like as a stay-at-home mom, or like whatever you're trying to do, if you have the time, I would try to plant it like 2-week increments. And then you can also go back and replant in those 1 rows that had one-hit wonders. So like if you plan to have all your one-hit wonders in the same row, then when those one-hit wonders are done, you can flip that bed. I don't really have time to do that, unfortunately. I wish I did, but if I did, I could plant all my one-hit wonder sunflowers together and then flip that bed and plant it with a fall flower. So that's an idea too that you can do to help extend your season, is to succession plant, which is really important. My seeds, I will tell you guys, I tend to spend around $400 on seeds. Right now, with what I showed you guys, I'm at $90. And I like to have a few extra packets. So if I figure I can plant around 2,000 plants the length of the machine shed, plus if I use my raised beds, plus if I use a little bit of like where the horses were at, that pasture, I could theoretically plant around 2,500 to 3,000 plants. And if there is around 20 to 50 seeds in each packet, you can also specify more if you want to do less different kinds and plant more, like buy a packet of 100 seeds, then you know for sure how many seeds you have. But I tend to just I like to buy the packets because I like to add different varieties. Since we're smaller, I like to have different options of varieties versus having quantities of the same kind. So then I will reuse them next year if I still have some. But also if things don't germinate, then I have some seeds to replace that. In the weed fabric where we have the holes, if something doesn't germinate, I have a seed then to replace that one that didn't germinate. Because the goal is that you have like 93-95% success rate for germination, but weather hits, especially if you plant in early May, you might have a frost that hits, watering, rain issue, like weather issues, so just wind, lots of different things that can happen, pest problems, weeds. So I like to have some extra seeds. So I tend to buy a few extra packets and stuff as I'm thinking about how much I need to order, so I have those available if I need them. And I just like trying lots of different varieties. So hopefully this helped. I know it was a little bit of a different style video than what we have been doing. We will be back to regular programming next week. We are weaning the calves this weekend, so next week's video will be a good one. Hopefully this was interesting to you. I needed to get this done, and we want to show behind the scenes of what we do and how we do it, and the realistic, like, we're not perfect at it. We've been doing this a while, but we're still figuring out. We work full time, and so how do we get this all done? How do we do it behind the scenes? So this is how I plan. So I have the site map. I write down what seeds I'm buying, when they germinate, when I need to plant them, direct seed or indoor, underneath our grow lights. I buy all from Johnny's Seeds. This is not an ad either, that's what I use. And then I put everything in there, calculate how much that will all cost, figure out my successions. And so if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer those. But you want to think about cut and come agains, medium producers, one-hit wonders, where you're going to place them. And this is a learning curve. Like, I planted my sunflowers. I just needed to get them in, so I planted them in the next row in my garden this year, which you saw in the beginning of this video, and it did not work well in being in the middle of the garden, so I will not be putting them there this year. So just things like that I try to make notes of. I also do that on here. I will like make little notes on I have a folder in Google Drive where I will keep like notes about like what worked well. I also just like to document everything, so like through YouTube or through, typically, I used to write a blog. I haven't wrote in my blog since last year, which I really want to get back to at some point. But like just documenting things so I remember what worked well, what did we do, what helped, what did we change that we want to do again, things like that. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Please subscribe, comment, share, like, and let us know if you like this style of video, if you want to hear more about behind the scenes stuff. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your week and fall, and we will see you in the next video.